Hello, my name is Tina Parrish, and this is Tina Parrish Coaching. This class is called Functional Movement. And the theme that we are doing right now is cardio. This will be even more intermediate to advanced cardio. And of course, it's completely controllable. If you don't want it to be more intermediate to advanced cardio, I will show you the way. So we're going to spend the first half of the class doing some nice length training, and then the second half of the class doing the strength training with additional cardio. Make sure you have a chair, make sure you have some weights, and even a band can be helpful as well. So let's start with the 5 points. I've really been on these 5 points. The more that I study modern movement as well as ancient movement, the more direct comes into these 5 points. And it starts with your ankle and your stance. Now, your stance might look different than mine. I want you to feel comfortable with how your stance feels. Just go a little bit wider than shoulder. We're going to start addressing, you're going to start making little shifts here and there. I want you to feel your whole feet in your shoes or in your socks, whatever you choose, or barefoot. And we'll go to the second point, which is your knee. So I want you to bend your knee a little soft. I want you to make sure your knee comes over your second and third toe. And so you can make some adjustments to that if that needs to happen. We always want that knee to come over the second and third toe in any kind of movement that we're doing. So we're looking to stay away from any of what's called pronation and looking to kind of push out a little bit more. So then I want you to come up to the hips as you go from the ankle and into the knee. And then start thinking about what does movement look and feel like when you are just moving from the pelvis. I would start with squeezing the glutes. That's a really simple way to just kind of get to know your pelvis and how it moves without feeling like you have to arch your back or move your back in any way. So just a little bit of pelvic movement, bringing it in a little bit, and then you pop up to the fourth point, which is the shoulders. So roll the shoulders back and have the palms open. And then the fifth point, which is your head over your torso, as if you're trying to settle it over your torso with ease. You're trying not to use extra muscles. You're just like placing it on top in a way that you feel it's just going to settle and sit there. Take some deep breaths, breathe in, breathe out. And all through the workout, just see if you can scan, like, how are my knees feeling? How are my ankles, like my pelvis movement, my shoulders back, and my head sitting? As we kind of call that out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Excellent. Let's go right to the shoulders today. So we're just going to bring the arms up, and we're going to go through a pronation. And we're going to go through protraction and retraction. So if you push your arms out, you're not losing that sense you have with the ankles and your knees and your pelvis, your shoulders, even your head. As your shoulders round out, and then imaginary, just grab something and squeeze. As we just go through some basic movements here without you losing that great posture. Once the arms come out, the core starts to be used. And also balance becomes an issue too. So you just want to see if you're like kind of falling off a little bit, if you're losing your 5 points in just a simple push-pull. This is the things you need when you're going to go push something. You're like, where are my ankles? Where are my knees? How are my hips? How are my shoulders? How's my head sitting when I push that item? And it could be pretty heavy. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay, just simple stuff. Okay, so now we're going to go to a single leg balance, and it's the same exact thing. When you come over to one side and you balance up on one foot, you still need to go through the points. Like, how's your ankle? How's your knee? How's your hip? How are your shoulders? And how is your head sitting over that? And then as you gently shift over to the other side. Alignment makes a big difference when you're doing simple things like pushing or pulling, or when you get off balance. If you can find that alignment and find those points. Excellent. All right, so let's move the body in different ways into these different planes. Planes are just places that it goes, okay? So one of the things that we do on a regular basis is we lean forward. And now you're taking 30% of your body weight. Excellent. Keep breathing in and out. Just one quick moment here. Go ahead and lean all the way forward. And you can use that chair. This is where the chair comes in handy. Because now as you're going into these extremes, you're starting to feel muscles like the hams get stretched out, like the calves. We're trying not to round out the center of the back. We're just doing a big hinge. Hinge in the hip. So some days you're like just at the tabletop. You're like, that's all I really got. If I go any more, I'm actually going to start rounding out my back, which isn't super healthy. We're looking to see, again, the glutes to the lumbar and then the hams. That area it can stretch rather than come up to the center of the back. And so you can push off, it's whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, this is 30% of your body weight. This is a lot for your lumbar, for your glutes, for your hams. Come up, hit those 5 points. Okay, now you're coming back. So there's a lot of contracting, there's a lot of strengthening posterior behind the body as you stretch the front. Go into your 5 points. What do you feel is most important at this point to watch out for if you're going to start to stretch back? Is it the softening of the knees? Is it tilting and squeezing of the glutes? Opening of the shoulders? Want to just have this sensory experience of like strength and awareness of what is and isn't working in this stretch. And then come all the way up, breathe in and out. So on other areas that we go in is we do things, we come on the side, right? We have reach, things like that, we tilt. And so we want to get a kind of a lateral stretch here. Remember what the spine does on this. One side lengthens, the other side contracts, tightens. And so we just want to be aware of what that's going to feel like. So I like to start at the rib cage between an arm. Some people don't have the overhead, that's okay. You can kind of go like this. And then I start to round out, push the hips into that plane and slide down and see what more I can get out of lengthening and contracting. I'll even might take that foot, put it around and stretch out a little bit more, but that brings on a balance. That brings on a balance issue, so just be careful. And then take your time coming up. Really a sense of being pulled up, so we can take really good care of the spine and then transferring to the other side. Again, you might start with the serratus, the rib cage, work in the neck, push the hips out. Not everybody can take that foot and kind of prop it behind. But it is a nice deep stretch. Oof. Body loves the oxygen in order to loosen the muscles, so make sure you're breathing deep. And then you especially come up slowly in this one. You feel like the spine is pulling up towards the sky as you come forward. Great, we're going to do into that kind of twisty, pivoting plane, which is called the transverse plane. And we're working on this challenge of being able to get yourself into a staggered stance upon the pivot. So both feet face forward, make sure you have that heel down. And even when you're in an asymmetrical move, you can still think about your points. How are my ankles? How are my knees? How's my hips setting? How are my shoulders? My head over my torso? And now I want you to begin rotation. And then come forward too. This is such a great basic working on balance stance, this staggered stance, this pyramid in yoga. Definitely one I recommend if you want to work on your balance. Again, going through the points, how's the ankles, how's the knees, how's the pelvis and the shoulders and the head sitting? As you go through rotation on the other side. And then come center and find those 5 points. Just these are like nice posture stretches. Working on the posture, working on range, all the areas the body goes. And we'll go directly to the neck now. We release tension in the neck and we release tension throughout the rest of the body. So looking forward, we're just going to do a simple Pilates neck roll. It's just turning the head side to side. Noticing any stiffness, any breaths that want to come in. Any releasing of tension in the shoulders. And you can go a couple of times side to side. That's your call. The slower you go, the more you notice things. Notice the tightness without judgment. Because we come back to this movement later and then you can sense differences in the body that something shifted throughout your workout. We're going to salamander stretch. So keeping the shoulders very straight without trying to move them. We're going into the neck again. But we're just doing a tilt. You're drawing the same ear to the same shoulder. through breaths, through relaxation of the shoulders. And you go side to side, you know, maybe once, maybe twice. We carry a lot of tension in the shoulders and a lot of stress there as well as into the hips, right? Because that makes sense. These are kind of big areas in our body. Breathe in, breathe out, and we're going to bring the chin down, and then we're going to look up, shoulders back. You can hit those 5 points. You can keep them on your mind's eye. Releasing the jaw, releasing the tongue, letting go of unnecessary muscles in this moment. And then let's just go for just a gentle massage really at the base of the skull, right there here in the back of the neck. Stimulate these rest and relaxation nerves, these cranial nerves that are drawn to our eyes, our smell, our tone, how we swallow. Able to have receptors from our stomach and from our heart telling us what's up. I felt it in my gut. I knew it in my heart. Those are real things. Cross your hands over in front. We're going to do a little right hemisphere, left hemisphere of the brain, and tap your right hand on your chest. Breathe in, breathe out. Add your left hand. Now left hand only. So we're using that emotional freedom technique, that tapping, and because we're crossed over, like the brain has to think a little bit differently, and you can't think about your upset. You're busy thinking about which hand do I use? Go to right hand. Both hands. And then to simple Tai Chi move, let's wake up the body a little bit more. We're going to tap down using the back of our fingers, our largest muscles in our body, any fashion, way you see fit. Call out the yang. The count of 3, we're going to put our hands in front of our stomach like we're kind of hugging a tree. It's called chi feeding. We're going to feel this sort of energy vibration going towards our core. 3, 2, 1, bring it in. And just note that energy. All is energy, and that energy is kind of vibrating, kind of yang-ish right there. If you'll exhale. Okay, full body stretch using the chair. We're going to go posterior. So that means we're going to stretch everything behind, shoulders, back, legs. So I want you to take your time kind of working your way into this. The objective being walking back a little bit more and more and getting the shoulders in a little bit more and more. It's okay to bend your knees. Those hands can be tight. Also, hands are tight if our glutes are not firing correctly. He's reading up more a little bit about that. You know, the body finds a way. If something's not working correctly, it's going to call on something else. So hands can be tight due to glutes not firing or acting correctly. So when you walk good with your glutes. Squeeze them sometimes. Feel that large step. And I'm going to go into like a little bit of roll here. And just feel some cat-cow and just feel that spine move. You can come all the way up into upward facing dog if you feel like it, if you think that you can support the body weight. Now's a good time to try because some of the cardio I have has you in a planking form on the chair. So you might want to see like, is that going to feel good? And remember, the more body weight you put in the front, you have to put a lot of concentration on what's happening with your shoulders and your elbows. So I always take my elbows, I rotate them in. Kind of rotate them in and I have them face forward instead of that loosey-goosiness. Just rotate them in and they're tight, they're locked, and they're supporting the upper body. I don't want them loose. I want to rotate it in. Get as much out as you can. What are your ankles doing now? What are your knees doing now? How about your hips, your shoulders, and your neck? Excellent. Okay. Keeping the hands on the chair. Walk your legs forward. We're going to go wide. So we're going to go into the hips now a little bit more. And if you're not keen when we start bending those knees and putting all that body weight into the knees. It's nice to use the chair to kind of take some of that away. So I'm gonna start bending side to side. You know, so I'm really coming close to that chair. If my knee is not happy right now with all that body weight, I'm gonna get rid of that body weight, just come forward. But if you're okay with that, then you can come up a little bit more. Knee is coming over the second and third toe. So if that's not working out, you got to change where your feet are. And your feet can place out. Based on that arrangement between the knee coming over the second toe, your feet will be where they need to be. So just watch for that relationship. You're stretching that lengthened leg. So you're getting to the adductors there, but you know, you can't stretch without strengthening. So that's why we need to have that knee be strong and help us. Watch out for the core. I mean, watch out for the C curve. That's not good for the lumbar. So just want to kind of round out a little bit. Tuck the pelvis in a bit. Actually, okay, we're gonna do some warrior legs. So the great thing about warrior legs is it starts to open the hips up a little bit. So all I want to do is just pivot 1 foot, a quarter turn. And then as I bend towards it, right, you can feel that little opening on the hip. And then back, quarter turn forward, and then quarter turn other foot. So you're in this warrior legs that's used with warrior 1, warrior 2, reverse warrior, all that good stuff. Okay, back and forth. You can come away from the chair if you feel like it. And just getting the hips to open up just a little bit more for you. All right, I'm gonna do that double bend. I'm gonna bend them both at the same time. Make sure that your lumbar is okay. And then see if you can go side to side on a low bend. If that doesn't working out for you, then just come up every time like we were doing before. But I'm gonna keep low and go side to side on a low bend. And see if I can even add that warrior leg. So there's the progression right there, right? I just sneak it in on you. And so you're so close to the previous move that you don't have to take this next harder move. Excellent. Breathe in and out. Take your time bringing your feet together. And then I want us to do a little bit in the chair for the hip. We're going to pull back into flexibility. What we just did was really mobility. And mobility is where you add flexion with strength. It pops it up. Mobility is a tad harder. Flexibility is like a tad easier because we're in the chair and now you can go kind of wide. And you can explore what that width is. Make sure you lean forward like you're looking kind of over a ledge. And see what it's like to have that wide stance. Your optimal wide stance that maybe you weren't getting when you were going into mobility, when you're taking on body weight, it's a little bit easier to do in the chair. Going from flexion to mobility, it's as easy as coming out of the chair. Easy for some, not so easy for others. So you can stay in the chair if you want to, it's perfectly fine. But again, there's that progression. Look, it's right there. You can take it if you want to. Push your arms out in front. You start using your core a little bit more. And lower yourself. And you don't have to have those arms in front, right? There's always a place for everybody in here on an exercise. So keeping it symmetrical, slide back a little bit. And just open and close the legs. Super simple, easy core move. Yes, you are moving the hips in and out. Good for the hips. The core becomes ignited. Put the arms out in front. I'm ignited just a little bit more. And I'm going to go into shin box. It is not for everybody. So what shin box is when I go wide and I do a pivot, not a twist on my spine. Ooh, and you feel it immediately. You don't have to go far. And then back to center. It's asymmetrical action in the hips when the hips are doing different things. But you're pivoting. There's no spinal twist unless you want a spinal twist. Then you can add a spinal twist. It's your call. Great. And I'm going to open up the hip flexors a bit, your psoas, in flexion style with no pressure of coming up unless you want to pop up, unless you want to go up to mobility for a moment. So you're in the chair and there's this stretch right here. That's the stretch. Letting this psoas stretch out, coming forward, make sure your lumbar doesn't feel like it's too contracted. But if I decide to come out of the chair, there's the mobility. There's increasing mobility. Mobility is flexion with strength. There is rotation here if you feel like it. I'm going to turn into that leg. So if I got my left in front, I'm going to turn to the left. Left on that. But again, you could be in the chair, just enjoying that and liking that psoas stretch. Let's go to the opposite side. Same thing, we build slowly and you stop where you are enjoying yourself. Should not seat your toe in the front of that knee should just be right over it. So it's way out in front, it's too much in front. I want you to not be able to see that toe. Okay, you can go from flexion to mobility by coming out of the chair. And then you can also add a rotation by turning into the same direction of that leg that's in front. Breathe in, breathe out. Excellent. You're in the chair. Let's enjoy the arms just for a moment before we get into that second half of the class, before we start strength training. So go wide on a flexion. Experience the core out in front with the hands. And let's go up overhead and come down and then back in front. So just experience some different planes. If coming up overhead is not something that you do for whatever reason, maybe you can just do like an arm movement there, come out and just see where your range is at. Not everyone has that range in that shoulder. And then hands on the shoulder. Let's be a little bit more thorough by drawing circles with the elbows. You should be feeling your blades in the center contract, but I don't want too much contraction in your lumbar, so watch out for that C curve. Make sure that you're turning that in, tucking the tailbone in a little bit, or tucking the, your abs in towards your belly button. That's a better cue. And then feel that contraction, that squeeze between the blades as your chest opens. That's a really good pattern. Okay, we come out of the chair. You can come out of the chair any way you want, but I'm going to turn into an exercise. So you're right on the flexion, squeezing the blades. We're going right into goddess. Boom, super simple in yoga. Up, out. Arms come out. And then up. You're right there for that goddess pose. Okay, grab your water. So now that we've done this little testing, how are some of the major joints in the body? How's the posture? How are we holding ourselves with the lengthening on some of the muscles? Now we go into the strengthening and the cardio for the muscle. Okay, so first set, can use a band. You don't have to. You can go back to the exercise we just did, which is excellent. So first set is really just sort of it's an easier set. It's a reminder for some of the stances and some of the muscles, things that we can get, and also reminding that range. Range is something we worked on last month with lengthening. Can you go a little wider? Can you go a little lower, but don't push it? So I'm going to go with a little bit of wider stance. That's something I want you to take throughout our sets today. Where can you go at a slightly wider stance instead of keeping those feet together, which can cause tight hips, and tight hips can cause back problems. So throughout the workout, the second half, see when you can go wide, okay? See when you can go wide. And then I also want you to see when you can squeeze the glutes. So you're just gonna come up, we're just gonna do some squeezing here once you feel them tight. But also think about those points. How does your knee like that? Does it need to be a little soft when you do that? Wide stance, glute squeeze. I might forget about it as you start to get into these sets, but I want you to remember it and see when can I strengthen back here? Super important muscle, plus it does this wonderful stretch for the psoas muscle, and we need more of that. Okay, taking a band, if you don't have a band, it's not a big deal. I'm just looking for like lengthening process. Where throughout this workout, in any of our moves that we're doing, can you really get into that lengthening process? Like, can the weight go a little bit higher? Can it come out in front a little bit more? Can you go down just a little bit lower as we kind of work that muscle strength, not just in a sweet spot, not just in an area that we're comfortable with, but pushing that muscle out a little bit more. The way muscles are built is if you extend, stretch, and contract to its fullest range, and it just pushes the fibers back and forth and breaks out all the old fibers. So we don't want to get used always to just working to a certain range. We want to push out for new ones and create new fibers, new stronger fibers for our muscle. And that's going to be our first set, okay? So the first set is kind of a reminder, how to stand, what's to squeeze, how to lengthen. Okay, have your weights nearby. So I'm going to take you through the lower. I'm going to break it down and show you the upper. And then we're going to put the two together for a total body move. It'll be core. And then, of course, we have the cardio cut. Okay, so you're looking at 4 to possibly even 5 sets on each little circuit that we're doing. So the first one is going to be a Romanian deadlift. Okay, so you can have that chair in front. So you're taking 30% of your body weight. You're stretching out your lumbar, you're stretching out your glutes, you're stretching out your hands, and then you're asking for those muscles, those very muscles, to strengthen and pull you up into a squeeze. So let's just do maybe about 4. Let's follow that lengthening process I taught last month, where you're going a smaller amount of reps because you're trying to go a little bit deeper. When you go a little bit deeper, it's a little bit harder. When it's a little bit harder, you are actually strengthening the muscle a little bit more. I've only done 2 so far. I'm going to do 2 more. Then when we get into the upper of the total body, then you can kind of make it a little bit shorter if you're comfortable with that. These are your deep, heavy ones right now. We got 1 more here. Instead of hurrying the process, I want to think, can I lengthen the process actually? Right, so we know a smaller amount of reps. When something's harder, we go a smaller amount of reps. When the movement or the weight is a little bit lighter, we're going to pick up more reps. All right, so go ahead and grab your weights. Good. All right, I've got 2 5-pounders. I've got 10 pounds. I'm just going to go with the upper body. Again, wide stance. When can I squeeze my glutes? As I bring the weights up in front and back down. Good time to squeeze the glutes is when the weights are up in front. I want you to go faster on the up and slower on the down. And again, I'm working on that lengthening, like could I go higher? Okay, we go into the total body move. All that means is, yeah, I'm gonna do the lower and I'm gonna do the upper now, and it's suddenly gonna result in a little bit more core. So that's too much of a step up. Just pick one or the other, right? So I'm gonna go low. I'm gonna let those weights naturally hang down. I'm not trying to force them to be anywhere that I want them to be. I'm just working with the weight. And then I'm gonna come up and squeeze and just repeat. Again, if my range is like, well, that's just too much for me, then just find a range that's good for you and just work that range there. If you're really itching for that total body move. Excellent. Okay, listen, now we're going into cardio. Right, we're going into the cardio bit. And so there's 2 ways I encourage you to do cardio today. I'm going to show you the move. You can either do the move vertical, standing up, because that's what works for you. Or you can do the move when you're planking on the chair. Okay, it's 20 seconds. So the move is knees up. Okay, and so what that looks like on the chair is knees up. Okay, you see you get a little bit more core and a little bit more strength if you're on the chair. That's a little bit more in advance, but you get to great cardio if you're up. So let's go. Ready? 20 seconds, choose it and go. So knee up if you're vertical, more like a mountain climber. If you're planking on the chair. Doing great, 10 seconds down, 10 more to go. That's what the Tabata is. It's typically about a 20-second interval. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come up, grab your water. And so we say that circuit's done. We go on to the next circuit, we break it down the same exact way. What the legs do, what the arms do, what we do together, and how we do cardio from there. Okay, 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Think about the lengthening process and work the heel down in the back. This is not tandem, you're not trying to balance on a rope, so you can go a little bit wider. Let's see about getting both those feet face forward. Go through your points, like how do I feel about that? How do I feel about my knees, my pelvis, my shoulder when I'm open on this? Breathe in and out. Okay, so at best, at most, it's a balance exercise. But I want you to be able to flow through and see where the strength is. So I want you to get really Tai Chi mind on. How do I transfer the weight to the front and push off on the back? How do I come back, feel both legs take on the weight in the center? And one of the hardest things is putting a little bit of weight on that back leg. That's like step for stairs. So that's the part you want to be careful. So you want to find where you're best and see if you can mimic 1 or 2 of these moves. So what we're doing as we flow through this on this balance is you're seeing is, do you have any ability to do a single leg split squat? That's where all the weight happens in the front. Notice I'm not bending that back. And then I push up based on that knee in front. That's a single leg split squat. So the front leg is doing all the work. Okay, now if I wanted to do more of a traditional lunge, I'm trying to arrange my body in the center and have both legs take on the weight. And so you gotta kind of find like where you're good and each side is very, very different, right? So at the very least, you're at least working on your balance in a staggered stance. If you're a little Tai Chi, I'm gonna send the weight a little forward, a little back. And again, we'll try 1 or 2 of these moves. All the work on that front leg, or distributing it between the 2. Excellent, let's go ahead and switch legs, let's switch sides. It's great to just notice the balance and the differences, like, oh, tight calf, I can barely get that heel down, or my heel hurts, or what have you. Flow through. Start to see, can I do the single leg split squat? Can I put all the work on the leg in front as it goes down and as it comes up? And what about, is there any ability to do kind of that lunge where you're distributing the weight in the center for both legs? And it's okay if you're comboing. If you're like, you know, I'm good down, but when it comes to coming up, I really need to rely on that front leg and that single leg split squat. You just got to kind of get to know your body. Once you find your strength, your pattern, that's when you're like, could I go a millimeter or 2 lower? Not too low. Grand Canyon theory. It's optional to go down. It is not optional to come up. You have to come back up. Breathe in and out. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to show you the arms down in the wide split squat. Okay, So back to the original leg forward, leg back, and we're going to go for a curl. Dealing with balance, strength that upper body. Great, okay, I'm gonna have you flow through the side. So you're either isolating lower or isolating upper, or you're going total body movement. I'm gonna do it all. And yours doesn't have to look exactly like mine because I have a feeling you probably found a lower body movement that you like better than I like. But can you do the two? Watch that knee. Make sure it's not trying to cave in. So challengers, like, look at that functional movement. Like, there you go. You reach down, you grab something, and you come up for it. Excellent. Let's not overdo it. Okay, so we're going to switch legs. We're actually going to switch arm movements a little bit. We're going to get some triceps in. So coming back. We'll start from the shoulder. The movement's going to be from the shoulder. So you're still using triceps. They're still contracted. We're just kind of moving to the shoulder with it. And then you're going to add lower body. You're going to start to make a total body move. So that's you picking up a table or moving a table with someone. So I think everybody's patterns in daily life are a little bit different. And we flow through it a little bit differently, but just so you're aware, it's all about awareness. Goes back to Feldenkrais. How are my ankles? How are my knees? How am I in this split position? Is my head sitting over my torso? All that stuff. Excellent. We come out of that. Wonderful. We go back into cardio. Okay, cardio up and cardio down, right? Cardio up, a little bit more beginner. Cardio down, a little bit more intermediate advanced. So we are going to push out on one side and for 10 seconds, then we're going to push out on the other. If you're in the chair, it's the same thing. You're going to kind of tap down. 10 seconds on one side, tap down, 10 seconds on the other. Ready, go. Strong elbows if you're in the chair. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switching. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's not stop at the Tabata. Since I'm calling this out as an intermediate advance, I want to tack on the last move we did, which is knees up. Take a 10-second break. This is how Tabatas typically go. You go for 20, you break for 10. You're gonna have knees up, or if you're on the chair, it's mountain climbers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going for another 20. Right up, left up, right up, left up. 10 down, 10 more to go. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew, come on. Yeah. And then the next one will go 3 rounds back to back, right? Woo, woo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 Tabatas in total. Catch your breath, breathe in and out. And let's go into a Wuchi knee, which is how I'll introduce it, that can become a squat because people don't like that word squat, right? And that's okay because you can do what's called the Wuchi knee. Wide stance. Make sure you squeeze the glute. And so let's do the lower body move. It's what you have in the knees. And take your time. Again, here come like the 4. Right, here come the 4. This is a movement we just don't want to let go of. If we want to keep going to the bathroom on our own and keep going into the car and get in and out of seats on our own. And so this is why I love to do the Romanian deadlift, because for many of us, our knee action is like, whoop, that's all I got. And then we have to use the back a little bit more, as long as it's done properly, right? And so there's many ways to come up and come out of your squat. I'm gonna go for one more. I think that makes it 4. Right, we do it in different ways because we all have different bodies. Okay, there's the lower. So let's go with the upper body. So I'm going to come out to the sides using that anterior deltoid, the one on top. Wide stance, a little bit of glute squeeze here and there. What's your range here? So remember that first set and what it taught us about stance and contraction of the glutes and lengthening when we can get it. Okay, I want to turn it into a total body move. So that means I want to use the lower and I want to use the upper. So whatever got on that squat. Good, and about halfway here before you come up, I want you to get that arm move. Because then we just kind of stay with the core and use that core. Whatever you have in a squat. Other ways you can reverse this too. Moving the arms out and coming down. Mimics you having to pick up something a little bit wide and coming up with it. And that's why this makes a good exercise. Yeah, so when you take it into that functional image, like you start to get into the move, you're like, oh yeah, that kind of looks like this thing that I do, like a basket, like a laundry basket sometimes. There we go, there's a total body move. So here comes the cardio. Remember, we're gonna triple it up. Okay, so introduce the new cardio and then we'll go back to the other 2 moves that we had before. Okay, one side, 10 seconds. As we're just gonna do a little bit of pulsing. Pulsing the glute. You're on a single leg, it's okay to use the back of the chair, 10 seconds and switch, right? So there's kind of the beginner, intermediate, balance. I'm going to the advanced. Remember, it's back to back. If you reach about as 10-second breaks in between them. Here we go, one leg up, 10 seconds, pulsing. Working the glutes there, strengthening the butt. 10 seconds down, 10 seconds more. Oh, switching. That's right, Tina. We gotta do both sides, right? Yep, we switch. Okay. On my cue, you get that 10-second break. 3, 2, 1, catch your breath. It's 10 seconds, and then you prepare yourself to come out for 10 on one side, 10 on the other. 3, 2, 1. Out 10 seconds. One side. Lengthening. And switch. Strong elbows. If you're on the chair. You got this. 3, 2, 1. Take 10. You got one more Tabata. And that will be knee up. So we're going right, left on the knee up. Here comes the call. 3, 2, 1, go. Let's go. Another 10. You got this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come up. And the good news is I'm not going to push you through one more circuit. It's just too close on time. So call it good on those 6 Tabatas, right? And then we'll come into the chair. We'll just do a little bit of check for ourselves. Make sure that exercise worked. Being in the here and now gave you something. So a good place I like to go to is right to the neck, into the neck roll. Entering the head side to side. And sometimes you can't put your finger on it, what it is. Sometimes you can. It's something sort of shifted for me. Something loosened, something released. Something let go. You relaxed into something. You definitely relaxed into the body for the last hour. Seated staff pose. Extend the legs out in front. Just give a call out how important it is that the core is aware in this moment. So it doesn't have the props, the legs to lift it up. And then slide up a prop on me. Nothing's changing here. Even when you lift that leg, the other leg, nothing's changing. And then you bring that same knee to the same armpit. You stretch the lumbar. More rounding out at the back. Extend the knee. It's not going to go all the way. You're going to go to a point of like a little shaking, and then you're going to work the ankle back and forth to floss the nerve. That sciatic nerve. Here comes the biggie. This is a big one for us. Is crossing the ankle on top of the knee. And so there's a lot to settle into in this moment. Lots of breaths to be taken. Lots of relaxation as you feel the tightness and you feel that resistance. Back into the neck roll. Just a little symbol, right? You know that exercise does work. Some exercises are harder than others, and there's more resistance. This typically is one of them. You can cross over. You can hang out where you're at. If you're like, really love this figure 4, you can cross over or hang out again. I'm gonna cross over, and I'm just gonna do a little bit more for digestion and for spine. I just doing that crossover. Okay, other side. Back it up. Seated staff pose. Call out to hold the upper core or up. Prop one leg, lift the other. Nothing changes about the back, even when you start to draw that knee towards the same armpit and nice and tall. I don't care if it's over here. You're nice and tall. Extend out the knee to the point of shaking low perturbation and work the ankle back and forth. Nerve flossing. And then careful, we're going to cross the ankle over the knee, and it takes some time, it takes some breath from you, it takes releasing, transitioning. Transitions can be hard. We just release into the experience. It can just meet us where we're at. You can stay with figure 4. You can do the crossover. You're liking how that feels on your back, and you're needing it for, you know, a little bit better motility, not mobility, but motility is how things come in and go out. Excellent, come all the way up. Let's just take that magical 3 inhales and exhales in a 10-second period of time. It's always there for you. Should you need to just freeze, should you need to remember you gotta exist in the moment and not in the past, worrying or the future, should you feel activated, triggered, upset, worried, whatever label you want to call it. Breathing is the simplest, most instantaneous way of self-care. Thank you, everyone. Great job, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Tina.